there and back again. A Goggins Tale, Part 16. The Palantir. The moon hung low in the sky, casting silver light over the sloping hills of Rohan. Smoke curled from a modest campfire atop one such hill, nestled within a circle of trees. The company had stopped to make camp on their journey back to Edoras, the road trampled by the iron boots of the Uruks and tough roots of the Ents. On the crest of the hill, a ring had formed. King Theoden sat with a fur-lined cloak draped over his shoulders, his weary face drawn in thought, now less heavy after his people's recent victories and the great allies now gathered around him. To his left was Gandalf, staff in hand, flanked by Saruman, once enemy now determined to make right his wrongs and redeem himself. His eyes reflected the firelight with quiet uncertainty. Opposite him stood Lord Goggins, sharpening a blackened combat knife on a whetstone, his shirt off and muscles shining as though freshly oiled. The rest of the fellowship lingered nearby, silent, watchful. "We must not linger here," said Gandalf, breaking the silence. "Time moves swiftly now. The enemy gathers strength with each passing hour. We must return to Meadowseld and summon the full might of Rohan." Theoden nodded slowly. "Aye, word will be sent to every corner of the mark. Riders will fly by dawn." Gandalf turned toward Goggins. "But it will not be enough." Goggins looked up from his blade, eye cocked. "You saying we got a manpower problem?" "I am saying," Gandalf replied grimly, "we need your men, the impenetrable battalion which fought at Helm's Deep." The king furrowed his brow. "I confess, I have never in all my years seen men, dwarves, and elves fighting together, as did the battalion of Lord Goggins, saving our people and striking terror into the enemy." Goggins sheathed his knife and stood, stepping into the firelight. His body cast a long shadow. "They'll be ready, but we ain't waiting for the enemy to knock on our door. I say we ride out and meet those motherfuckers." He slammed his fist into the palm of his other hand. Gandalf cut in. "It is a bold plan, my lord. We can join with the forces of Gondor and together deal a deadly blow to the enemy." Murmurs of approval spread through the gathered men. The king stood slowly, his posture stiff but proud. "So it shall be then. When I give the call, you will have the strength of Rohan at your back. We will ride together with you to Minas Tirith." One by one, the council broke. The fellowship settled on worn bedrolls. The Rohirrim laid their heads down, weapons within reach. Even Saruman, wary and sullen, found a place beside the embers. Goggins remained standing for a time, staring into the dark horizon. Eventually, he lowered himself beside the fire, folding his arms behind his head and allowing sleep to overcome him. And with that, the hilltop grew still, save for the wind brushing across the grass and the crackle of dying flames under a starlit sky. The stars had long passed their peak in the sky, and the camp lay still under their cold light. Embers from the fire cracked softly, the occasional snort of a horse the only sound in the quiet of their hilltop rest. Then came a shriek. High and sharp, it ripped through the silence. Men bolted upright, hands scrambling for swords, hearts racing with battle-born instinct. Goggins was already on his feet, bare-chested and alert, a pistol drawn before his mind had even caught up. "What the fuck?" he barked. A commotion broke out on the other side of the fire. Pippin knelt trembling, arms locked in place around a ball of fire like a caged sun, fire and smoke spinning violently. "Let go," shouted Aragorn, lunging forward. Pippin's hands refused. His body was stiff, jaw clenched. Aragorn tore the orb from his hands, but no sooner had he grasped it than a cry escaped his lips. His knees buckled. He collapsed to the ground, eyes wide and unseeing, the stone still clutched to his chest, pulsing with dark fire. "Little bitch," shouted Goggins before diving for it. "Give me that shit," he snarled, yanking the orb from Aragorn's hands. The moment it touched his palms, the pain hit. Like fire through bone, like electricity tearing down his spine. He grunted, staggered, and fell to one knee, but he held firm. The stone burned, twisted, pulsed with malice. 1,000 voices screamed in his head. It wanted in. It wanted to take his soul. But it had picked the wrong mind to fuck with. Goggins didn't yield. Sweat streamed from his brow as he gritted his teeth, locked in silent war. The orb pulsed harder, fire turning black, smoke coiling inside the glass like a living thing. But Goggins kept his grip, both hands now clutching the Palantir like it owed him money. And then it shifted. The flames recoiled, replaced with a gush of water drenching Goggins' hands before the smoke thinned. The violent pulsing slowed. Then, silence. The orb cleared. Its interior now reflected nothing but the starlight above and the scarred face of the man who had tamed it. Goggins exhaled sharply and tossed the orb on the grass beside Aragorn, whose chest was beginning to rise again, shallow but steady. The camp was frozen. Not a word. Not a breath. Saruman, watching from beside the fire, took a slow step forward. His face was pale, the blood drained from it. The Palantir. I thought it remained locked in Orthanc, he murmured, more to himself than to anyone else. How is it here? He looked to Goggins, not with scorn this time, not even with disdain, but with something else entirely. Something like awe or fear. How? He whispered again. Gandalf stepped forward, his hands still shaking on his staff. His face, too, had gone pale. David, he said, urgency in his voice. What did you see? Goggins didn't answer right away. He stood slowly, flexing his hands as if to shake off the phantom burn. An ugly motherfucker with a mouth like he'd been giving head to a big-ass cactus, he said finally, his voice gruff and hard. Told me he was the mouth of Sauron. I told him Sauron best brush his motherfucking teeth. Then he showed me a dead white tree burning. I thought they was having a bonfire or some shit. He looked up at Gandalf. He tried to break me, tried to fuck with my mind. Gandalf looked stricken. And you resisted it? I didn't just resist, Goggins growled. I fucked him up. He stepped past Gandalf, staring down at the Palantir as though daring it to try again. I showed his ass real pain, he said. The real shit. Not some bullshit nightmare. I gave him the 100-miler, the broken legs, the shit, the blood, Death Valley. The nights alone in the freezing dark. You should have heard that fucker scream like a lil bitch. I think he pissed himself. Must have been what all that water was. Silence fell again, broken only by Saruman's whispered words. You wrestled the mouth of Sauron and emerged victorious. Gandalf's expression was anxious, but behind it there was a flicker of something else, hope. None has ever done what you have this night, he said softly. Goggins cracked his neck. Yeah, well, I took that motherfucker's soul. He ain't gonna be calling again anytime soon. He turned to Aragorn, now conscious but still pale. You good, son? Aragorn nodded weakly, eyes full of something like disbelief. Gandalf bent to scoop up the orb. It was cool now, harmless in appearance, but no one would mistake it for a toy. I must go to Minas Tirith, he said. They must be warned. There, the enemy's blow will fall hardest. Goggins then turned to Pippin, his face darkening with rage. The hobbit shrank instinctively under his glare, still pale from his encounter with the Palantir. You do that shit again, Goggins growled, shaking his head as he pointed his large fists at him. You gon' catch these motherfucking hands, boy. Pippin blinked, wide-eyed. I didn't mean to. It was like I was under a spell. Nah, Goggins cut him off. I know a spell that'll beat your ass black and blue. You touch that demon ball again without clearance, and I swear to God, you're gonna be the first hobbit to earn a black belt in pain. The camp had fallen dead silent again, save for Gimli's muffled grunts. You gonna learn your lesson, Goggins continued, pacing in front of Pippin like a drill sergeant who just caught a recruit sleeping on watch. "This ain't no motherfucking game, boy. You understand me, son? Lives are on the line." Pippin nodded furiously. "Understood, sir." "Good," said Goggins, finally turning his back. "Now go get some damn rest before I decide to run you up and down this hill until your legs don't work no more." Pippin didn't need telling twice. He vanished toward his bedroll before another word was spoken. A hush fell again over the camp. It did not last. The wind shifted. Cold, it rolled over the hilltop like a chilling draft, and every man felt it. Horses stirred nervously, stomping and tossing their heads. The fire guttered low. Gandalf and Saruman's eyes lifted first, sharp with sudden dread. And then they heard it. A screech, high, spine-chilling. The very stars seemed to dim. Men clapped hands to their ears, quaking where they lay. "Get down!" shouted Aragorn, drawing his sword. Above them, something vast swept across the night sky, blocking the light of the moon. A creature of shadow and death, mounted by a black figure robed in tattered darkness. "A Nazgul," Gandalf hissed. "Sent by Sauron. He hunts." He never finished the sentence. "Quick!" Goggins bellowed, eyes locked on the shape above. "Get me my fucking gun." Legolas fumbled with the straps of Goggins' rifle case. "This?" he asked, handing it up. "Hell, yeah," Goggins snapped, yanking out the Barrett 50 cal, its matte black barrel gleaming in the firelight. He dropped to one knee, chambered around, and squinted down the scope. The creature banked in the sky, beginning to circle. Its shriek sliced through the air again, and then came the thunder crack. Boom! The round tore through the sky. The winged beast shrieked, then convulsed mid-flight before falling fast, spiraling. "Let's go kill that motherfucker," Goggins said, rising to his feet, slinging the rifle over his shoulder. The Fellowship was already moving. Aragorn and Legolas at his sides, Gimli charging behind with his axe. Even Frodo and Sam were on their feet, guns drawn, focused. Saruman followed last, reluctant, pale as snow, clutching his staff. They found the beast crumpled in a hollow below the hill. Its wings snapped like torn sails, black blood steaming on the ground. The Nazgul rider dragged itself from the wreckage, screeching, robes flailing. It looked up, and Goggins emptied half a magazine into its face. Rounds tore through shadow and spectral bone alike. Black mist sprayed. The creature howled, stumbling back as each bullet forced it back in pain. Gandalf and Theoden arrived moments later, breathless. They watched in stunned silence as Goggins stepped forward and calmly placed one final round through the thing's skull. The Nazgul collapsed, dead, or as close to dead as could be. "What happened?" whispered Theoden, his voice choked with awe. "He killed it," murmured the marshal at his side. "That thing. He actually killed it." Gandalf stepped beside Saruman, his expression grave. "That beast was not here by chance," he said. "It was sent for you." Saruman, trembling slightly, looked at the smoldering corpse of the ringwraith. His mouth opened, then closed. He said nothing. "This ain't no Crips and Bloods, man. They throwin' shade, provoking your old ass. You gonna let that shit slide?" "He speaks truly," said Gandalf, turning to Saruman. "You were the target, not the halfling, not even the ring. And if not for Lord Goggins, perhaps you would be dead before the dawn." Goggins looked down at the empty bullet-ridden rags at his feet, filled that fool with lead. The air stank of sulfur and something older, fouler, like the breath of a sealed tomb broken open after centuries. "But how?" asked Saruman in disbelief. "How did he bring down that fell creature and kill the ringwraith? Such a thing should not be possible. In him is a power greater than you understand, Saruman. He is one of the Valar," said Gandalf in reverence, placing a hand on Saruman's shoulder. "As long as we have the Lord Goggins, we stand a chance. Back on the hilltop, the company regathered, bedrolls forgotten, weapons remaining in hand. The fire was stoked higher, and this time, they formed a council. Goggins sat on a rock, rifle across his lap, still bare-chested, eyes locked on the flames. Around him, the Fellowship took their places, now very quiet. Even Saruman, who stood slightly apart, his expression still of shock. Gandalf looked around them. "We must speak now of the ring." At that, Saruman stiffened, and Frodo's hand went instinctively to the chain at his chest. "Yes," Gandalf said sternly, eyes flashing across the firelight. "Saruman, the ring is here with us now." Saruman shifted, his expression caught between reverence and unease. His gaze flicked toward Frodo, then dropped to the flames. "A relic of dominion, left to tempt the weak and taunt the strong," he murmured. Goggins leaned forward, his eyes not leaving the fire, but his presence dominated the circle. "We gon' dunk this bitch in a fucking volcano," he said profoundly. There was a moment of silence where those gathered contemplated his wise words. Then Frodo shivered and reached again for the chain around his neck, this time exposing a glint of gold. Saruman's eyes snapped to it. The ring. He hadn't seen it so clearly until now, nor felt its presence. Yet now he felt it pulse as the gold glinted. Saruman tilted his head slightly, his fingers twitching at his side. "So small," he muttered, "and yet so perfect." Gandalf noticed it. So did Aragorn and Goggins. "Do not," came Boromir's low growl before anyone else could speak. Saruman looked at him, startled. "Do not even think of it," warned Boromir. "I've been near it. I know its game. It is not your friend. And if you attempt to take it..." He nodded toward Goggins. "Know the Lord Goggins is severe in punishment." Saruman's lips parted as if to respond, but no words came. He looked again at the ring, and this time, with great struggle, turned away. "Wise," said Gandalf, looking pleased. "Its lure is strong, and it cannot be wielded without spreading corruption." "Then we are agreed," said Aragorn. "We aid Gondor first. Minas Tirith must stand. Then we will go with Frodo and destroy it." Gandalf nodded. "The ring will be destroyed, but not yet. Not until the shadow over Gondor is broken. Only then can we march on Mordor." Saruman spoke next, almost fearfully. "You would delay its destruction?" Gandalf looked at him with steel in his gaze. "We do not have the luxury of choice. Frodo cannot walk into Mordor if Mordor is already watching. We need to eye distracted, and Gondor cannot fall." "My boys are ready," Goggins said, rising to his feet. "I'll lead my own soldiers." "Ain't no motherfucking orc getting past us, unless he's got a death wish and a fucking rocket launcher." His presence, already immense, seemed to swell with the weight of the coming battle. Theoden looked up at him, having just joined them and overheard Goggins. "You would march with your own men?" "I don't lead from the back," Goggins said. "We born for that front line, brother." "Then you shall have the vanguard," said the king. "And all of Rohan will follow your charge." There was a murmur of approval, but Gandalf's eyes turned distant. His hand rested on his staff, his expression heavy with thought. "David," he said, drawing him aside, "I must speak with you." They walked a few paces from the firelight, just out of earshot. "You are needed in Gondor," Gandalf admitted. "The city must stand, and the people must have someone who can fill them with hope. Someone mighty. That's you." Goggins folded his arms. "So what's the problem?" "You're also needed with the Rohirrim," Gandalf said. "If Theoden falters, if the march breaks before it begins, we will lose." There was a silence. "I got you, man," Goggins said. Gandalf gave a small nod. "Take Saruman," Goggins said. Gandalf blinked. "You and him. Ride out to Gondor and hold tight till I get there." And you? I'll handle things here and lead the men. And when it's time, we'll be there. But Saruman, you and him, I'd love to watch that Harry Potter shit with 2 Dumbledores defending Hogwarts. Gandalf turned back, glancing at the pale-robed figure beside the fire. There was a pause. Then Gandalf nodded. Very well. Saruman stepped forward from the edge of the firelight. His eyes flicked to Gandalf, then to Goggins, then back again, now composed. What is our next move? You will ride with me to Minas Tirith. There was a moment of silence, broken only by the crackle of the fire. Saruman frowned. To counsel with Denethor? Yes, said Gandalf. And to fortify the city's defense. Rohan and the Lord Goggins battalion will follow when the muster is complete. Until then, you and I will hold the White City against what comes. Saruman hesitated. Then he bowed his head. Very well. If this be the path to my redemption, I will walk it. I will stand with you in Minas Tirith, my old friend. Gandalf nodded. Goggins grunted from beside the fire. You try any of that slippery shit, and I'll snap that fucking wand of yours, or set my boy Smeagol here on you. Gollum, now at Goggins' side, growled. Saruman said nothing, giving only a tight smile. Gandalf turned swiftly then. Urgency replaced calmness. We've no time to waste. He looked to Pippin, who was still recovering but alert enough to flinch under the weight of the wizard's gaze. You're coming with me. To Minas Tirith. Pippin blinked. Me. You looked into the Palantir, said Gandalf. The enemy may think you have the ring. I must get you far from here. Pippin glanced helplessly to the others. Do I have a choice? Nah, man, said Goggins flatly. You fucked around. Now, you gonna find out. Before the hobbit could muster a response, Gandalf was already turning toward the silver steed waiting on the edge of camp. Shadowfax, he called. The horse neighed softly in answer. Hold, came a voice from behind them. It was Boromir. I too will go with you to Gondor. It is past time I seen my land, and am needed to command its defense. He looked to the Lord Goggins, as if for leave. I respect that, brother, responded Goggins, fist-bumping the man. At the edge of the camp, Saruman approached the gathered horses as the dawn rose. There also stood the king with a clutch of his men, organizing messengers. A guard hesitated as the pale wizard extended his hand. I will require a mount, Saruman said, his voice persuasive. The lad looked to the king, who gave a slow nod. Saruman inclined his head in gratitude and mounted the horse provided. Nearby, Gandalf swung up onto Shadowfax, the silver stallion steady as Pippin clung awkwardly behind, white-knuckled and still half asleep. Boromir ready on another mount at his side, shield slung across his back. All you gotta do is hold shit down till I get there, brother, said Goggins, giving him a once-over. For glory, for Gondor. Boromir replied, Get going then. Then the wizards turned, and with a thunder of hooves, they were off. Shadowfax led the charge, swift as the wind. Behind him came Saruman and Boromir, cloaks snapping in the wind. Goggins watched them go. Then he turned to the men of Rohan, who were already preparing. All right, bitches, he said, cracking his neck. We got work to do.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure. If you enjoyed the journey and are eager for more wild fan fiction, don't forget to hit that like button, share with your fellow fans, and subscribe for more episodes. And if you're as enchanted by the idea of Middle-earth meeting Hogwarts as we are, make sure to check out our series exploring this magical crossover. Your support brings these worlds to life. Until next time, keep the fantasy alive.